Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So just last Wednesday saw the release of one of the most anticipated issues of the entire year. That's right, from Marvel Comics. Today I'm going to be giving you my honest review of Venom issue number 1. So this is the brand new ongoing Venom title. It's been a few months since we saw the big finale to Ryan Stegman and Donny Cates' run on Venom, in which they made Eddie Brock the new King in Black. In this issue, we just get kind of a point of view from Eddie Brock, but also from Dylan Brock. It's going between them. They meet up at different points in the issue, but it's all intertwined in a really interesting way. And there are two different writers on this issue. It's sounding like Al Ewing, who's one of the writers on this, one of the biggest names in comics right now, especially for his work at Marvel on Immortal Hulk, which just wrapped up. Venom is kind of replacing that. He's writing Eddie Brock, and that's, I think, totally deserved. He's writing like the crazy, huge scope cosmic stuff that's going to be going on in this title. But then over on the other side of the story, we had Rom V writing Dylan Brock's perspective. And Dylan is the new Venom, as we've recently found out at the end of Donny Cates' run. He's gotten the original Venom symbiote, and they have this brand new look that's featured on the cover here. It's basically just the original Venom, except with chains. And Dylan has been feeling kind of lonely lately. He's an angry teenager. He's getting into fights at school and stuff, and it's a major problem. But Eddie has barely been seeing him because he's been off in space for so long, fixing all these problems that the King in Black devastation left. And, you know, Dylan's just kind of living alone. Kind of unexplained. Like, how is this kid that's in, like, public high school just staying at an apartment in New York, somehow surviving like he has money to get groceries and stuff? I don't know how that can actually be explained. There's a lot of stuff in comics like that you can just kind of get away with. For this issue specifically, I really liked it overall. It was pretty well paced for the most part. What stood out for me the most, though, was Brian Hitch's artwork. Really fantastic artwork on this issue. I didn't have high hopes for it because I haven't read much of Hitch's work, and what I have read I haven't really enjoyed that much, but he's totally on his A-game on this issue. We see Eddie going around crusading with his space team, trying to take down Skrull pilots, and a whole bunch of other stuff going on, plus a brand new character reveal, and maybe some new character history that's going to be popping up later on in this run. This first issue, not much actually happened, fairly uneventful. There was a lot of setup though, and I think it's going to be a pretty cool run moving forward. I am completely getting into spoilers in this video though, so just a fair warning, if you want to read this issue, go pick it up at your LCS. I definitely recommend it. The issue opens up though on the cosmic side of things with Eddie Brock crusading around space, trying to find problems to solve with this group of 4 different symbiotes that he's sort of recruited to be like his right-hand men. He needs to name them something, so he's named them after all the first names of the Beatles. I thought that was pretty funny, and they're like kind of his friends. They're just calling him Eddie. He's not like being called the King in Black because he wants it to be more of a friendly situation. Eddie and his crew do manage to take down these Skrull space pirates, which had invaded the ship, I guess, and taken the goods that the people on it were gathering, except we find out that the entire crew has been killed, but by one of the symbiotes that Eddie was with. Early on in the issue, we saw one of the symbiotes' eyes suddenly go red. I think it was Ringo, and we don't know what the deal is with that. It's clear that something is up. Turns out that guy is somehow being mind controlled by some sort of being. It gives Eddie a warning before it just suddenly disintegrates. He says that something is coming, basically some sort of new threat. Pretty generic stuff. I mean, if you really look into it, you can probably see some hints for what's going to end up coming, but it's leading into this brand new character reveal at the end. Meanwhile, back in New York, in the part written by Rom V, we see Dylan Brock, like I said, living alone in the apartment, getting in fights at school, and just having a hard time overall. He's interacting with Sleeper, this, I guess, offspring of the Venom symbiote that's been in the form of a cat since Donny Cates' run on Venom. I really like their interactions. I think that's probably one of the best parts of this book, to be honest. Not really a big Dylan Brock fan, but Eddie does decide to return to New York to go warn Dylan about what's going on. He figures that whoever this is behind that attack on the spaceship that possessed one of his symbiotes is going to come after Dylan, is going to come after him and just symbiotes in general. So he goes to New York City in person to warn Dylan. It's the first time they've seen each other in a couple weeks, and while Dylan is packing, when Eddie is downstairs, suddenly Dylan gets a phone call, and it's from Eddie. It seems like the real Eddie is actually calling him, and whoever's downstairs is some sort of impersonation. This whole bit actually really confused me. They didn't explain it by the end of the issue, and honestly, it doesn't really seem like they are going to until much later when we actually get the reveal of who was the person behind all this and how they're doing mind control, how they're impersonating people. Turns out that the real Eddie, though, is in some sort of motel that he stays in to lie low. He's gone there many times over the years, and Dylan is on his way to meet him there. That's their safe spot where they're going to talk about what's going on, because Eddie is trying to figure it out. He figures out, actually, in this issue that he can use his powers in some pretty interesting ways. So then we get this whole splash page, which is teasing a whole bunch of stuff to come in this ongoing series. We see the army going after Dylan Brock in this like kind of green tinted panel, and then we see this weird like Carnage monster saying Bedlam is my name. Yeah, that looks crazy. And then we also get Kang here, and then like some Venom hand with like candles coming out of the fingers. This book is going to be super trippy. Eddie now realizes something. We don't know what it is though, but somehow looking through this time stream, he's figured something out. He knows what's coming, and he needs to warn Dylan. But it's too late. Dylan has already stepped out of the Greyhound bus that he was taking when suddenly these helicopters show up. This was part of, I guess, what Eddie saw in his visions. Some sort of like US military or some sort of organization going after Dylan Brock for whatever reason. We get this huge bombing of the motel, and Eddie is seemingly bombed in the process. Would this kill him? We don't really know. Dylan is of course horrified, but luckily the Venom symbiote is on the scene. It bonds with Dylan, and they're back to their look that they had at the end of the last issue of Venom, with the chains on the wrists and stuff. And I don't know, this just looks like regular Venom in these splash pages, as cool as they are drawn by Brian Hitch. But it's just like chains on the wrists, and then Venom doesn't actually use those chains at all in this issue. That was kind of underwhelming for me. I was hoping for them to put into effect those chains, use them as like some sort of power, kind of like Spawn, but they chose not to in this issue. I'm hoping that they will later on though. I guess that's probably Rom V's choice because he's writing that part of the story. But then we get these last, I guess, 3 or 4 pages of the issue where we see Eddie Brock's point of view. He's suddenly flowing through this time stream again, flowing through this weird trippy world, realizing that this is how he died. He died when he was bombed by the military people in that motel. Despite being a god, he just died in his regular form. But then we suddenly see him emerge on this bizarre alien planet. It's really colorful with like red tinted buildings and mountains and strange looking trees, and there's somebody standing there. They say, "I am Meridius, my friend, and here at the furthest end of all that is, I welcome you to my garden." Al Ewing getting super weird with stuff here. I'm super excited to see where he goes with it, but this is the big first appearance that everyone's been looking forward to for this series. Probably a key issue later on if this character ends up becoming the main villain, or I guess just a friend of Venom in this series. Still very unclear, but I think the character design so far looks really cool. I like all of Al Ewing's grandiose stuff. The end of his Immortal Hulk run with number 50, that was one of my favorite issues of the year so far. That was just totally bonkers and really out there. So that's what I'm hoping for from this Venom run. It looks like they're going to be expanding the mythos of the Venom symbiote and all of the Clintar, all the Null stuff, but also adding into something else. We get one final page though where we see this new character saying that all of this has already happened before, and he's holding Eddie Brock's skull, all that was remaining from the fire. So is this guy like in that other weird plane that Eddie Brock went to and Earth at the same time? It's unclear, but now the King in Black's throne is empty. While Eddie is away in this weird plane but officially dead on Earth, this new character Meridius can take over. He's probably going to be the villain, but maybe he's like a really old character because he's saying he's done this before. He's killed past Venoms or something, past King in Blacks. We have no idea. I always give you guys something out of 10 for these single issue reviews though. For this one, Venom issue number 1, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Like I said, there were a couple things that confused me a little bit, like that phone call that Eddie was giving to Dylan, and then the impersonations happening. I'm sure that will be explained at some point in the near future, but it was just a bit too hard to follow for a first issue in my opinion. Other than that though, really great writing from both writers. Glad they're working together well and writing 2 sides of a story all in one series. So if you got some good enjoyment from this video or some good information from it, make sure to hit that subscribe button. That's the big red button right below this video. You can also hit the notifications bell, which is right next to it. You'll be notified every single time I post a new video if you don't want to miss any. We're getting really close to the 200 subscriber milestone. We're about 20 subscribers away. Hopefully we'll be able to hit that milestone by the end of the year, but that's up to you guys. So that's everything from me for today. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Bye, guys.